Hello, welcome to another FPL Top Guns pod featuring musings from me, a 700k ranked manager and a 1.8 million ranked manager, such as myself, as stunning ranks to back up our maverick ways.
Am I 1.8 million? I thought I was lower than that.
No, mate, you've reached those giddy heights. Well done.
Check me out.
You've got some sniffles, mate. You've dragged yourself, well, you're not dragged yourself out of bed, but you're in bed recording this because you're a soldier and you've carried on.
Yep, it's pathetic. If you could see me, it's honestly a pathetic sight. I'm just lying in bed. I've got the duvet tucked up to my chin, got my headset on, and here I am. So no one can fault my dedication tonight.
That's it. Is it stress related? Is it fantasy stress related?
I think it must. But they say stress brings your immune system down, doesn't it? So I just think the stress of everything that happened over the weekend has just done me in, and I need about another week to recover. Then it will happen again.
God, there must be loads of poorly middle-aged men out there then, because fantasy's been dreadful for a whole host of us.
Oh my God, so bad, so bad.
Indeed. Right, we've actually got a vague structure. You'll be surprised to know this week, because I did a little bit of prep for once.
Yeah, that's why you're hosting this one, because you've done a bit of background. It's nice.
Yeah, exactly. And man down, I step in. That's what companionships are all about, aren't they?
It's why you're ice to my Maverick.
Yeah, let's not get onto that. That could be a long conversation. Right. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to, I'll put a couple of questions out, so at the end we'll finish with a few questions that Got No fans have asked us, so we'll speak about them. And we're going to talk about Sterling, best front three, but to be honest, we'll see what we get round to. I say structure, it's loosely held. But anyway, you're extremely lucky tonight, Az, because obviously you're graced with an elite fantasy mind, such as myself, who can predict the future. And obviously, I'm giving out absolute hot takes, and great advice. Like I said, I'm good at giving advice. I'm just not very good at following myself. So obviously, you played the hottest property in fantasy football, the top scorer in the game, Pookie. You wouldn't bench him for a Sheffield United defender, would you? Because people would pay good money for that sort of advice, I think.
I mean, he's my high scoring player by quite a considerable margin, and he's just first on my bench. it's really depressing. And I saw that Southampton goal go in, and as soon as I saw that Southampton goal go in, I just knew that Pookie was going to get something. But I mean, all I can say is, would you ever have predicted that? Would you ever? You'd never have, even an elite mind like you would never have predicted Norwich to win that. And I mean, I thought, Norwich. The way I saw it was, bring on Southampton, let them see if they can score against the mighty Sheffield. I just thought that had 1-0 written all over it. You disagreed. You were right. But I thought maximum Pookie will get one goal in a 5-1 loss. So I just thought I'll just risk it. It's something a bit different. You don't get many opportunities to bench a highly owned player and for it to seem sort of not. I mean, it was completely stupid, but it didn't seem it didn't seem completely stupid. So I thought I'd take the risk and hope for the best. But good God, I mean, 12 points. I mean, he just absolutely. I underestimated how bad a partnership Otamendi and Stones.
Well, that's another thing we said, isn't it? I said to you when we talked it through, I said Otamendi is out of favour. He's rusty. It's a circus act when it's Stones. You even agreed. You hate that guy.
Yeah.
So that's why I kind of felt like it was, the 12. I'm not going to sit here and say I thought they'd win or he'd get that amount of points because, God, who would predict that? But at the end of the day, I always thought there was a chance that his ceiling is pretty high because he's proved it in Chelsea, Liverpool, and now Man City, and the guy's the highest scorer in the game. To bench him.
I know. I mean,
I said right. It was madness.
I thought the difference was going to be that I just didn't think Norwich would have the ball, and I thought they might make a mistake and he might nick in and. I mean, he could have had more. He missed a shot a couple of minutes before. I mean, it was Norwich that outpassed them at times. Norwich were absolutely incredible. I never in a million years predicted that could happen. So I hold my hands up. It was a bad move. It's cost me. If I just played Pookie, I'd be having a pretty bad game week like everyone else. But because I didn't play him, I'm having an absolute stinker of a week. Especially because I bought in De Bruyne and he was benched.
Oh, let me get onto that. I've got something coming up to slag you off for that as well.
Do it.
You took a hit to bring in Kevin De Bruyne when I told you last week this was the game his minutes will be managed, and there was even a chance he may not start, and you still did it. You still did it.
Yeah, surprisingly, Luke, I don't base all my FPL decisions on what you think.
Well, you should.
I know, you're right. But well, I mean, it was a mistake, though, wasn't it? It was a mistake from Pep. He should have played him. He's the most informed player in Europe. He underestimated Norwich.
Well, he wasn't the most important player in Europe last year, and they still won.
Well, I know, but he hadn't played the mighty Norwich.
That's true. Forget fantasy for a minute. Like you said, that Norwich game, oh my God, all those injuries, that play, the confidence, it's just unbelievable, man. They were so good.
It's absolutely unbelievable. It really is. But I think, when you bench someone like De Bruyne, I think it gives the team a lift. Because they look at that team. I mean, I know they've got an amazingly talented squad, but you take De Bruyne out of that team, and that's pretty much their best player out of the team. You've got to think that you've got more of a chance without De Bruyne in the team than with him. So I just think it was a bad call on Pep's part. I think he
underestimated them just like you did.
He did. I think he should have played him for 60 minutes and taken him off when they were comfortable. Not had to throw him in when they were losing. But then again,
well, I hope the Sheiks are listening, because get you in, get Pep out. Get Az in, everyone.
And I clearly make great lineup decisions. So
yeah. Well, anyway, you made me do it, mate. You called me out for my wildcard. I don't like it. It's not my style. I feel like a domestic abuse case. Like, you're making me do this, Az. Look what you made me do.
I do feel a bit lying in bed like this with my box of tissues, like softly crying to myself. I do feel a bit like an abused. I wouldn't say wife, abused partner. It can happen to anyone.
Yeah, exactly. All right, okay, I've given you enough stick. I don't want to keep doing it. It's not my style. I love you too much, mate.
Yeah, thanks, man. I've suffered enough.
Yeah, and to be honest, it's gone unnoticed, but I took a -8 to bring in Trent and Zinchenko. To be fair, I had Laporte out injured, so that was a move I pretty much had to make. So I thought Man City would keep a clean sheet, and I also thought that Alexander-Arnold would outscore Wan-Bissaka by quite considerable amount. But obviously Wan-Bissaka got a clean sheet and Trent did nothing. So that was a fantastic move by myself as well. In fact, if I hadn't done that -8, I would have actually, I wouldn't have had a good game week, but compared to most other people, it would have been all right, because I think I'm on 47, which is still pretty dreadful, but
see, one minute you're saying Pookie was guaranteed to score, the next you're saying guaranteed clean sheet for Man City. Don't know what this is the problem.
Listen, as I said at the start, I give good advice. I do not follow it myself. Okay, I gave everyone that free context. Everyone knows that. Okay?
Did you take Wan-Bissaka out?
Yeah, because Trent was going up in price, and Wan-Bissaka was injured. He got said he wasn't even going to play in the game. Like, if I'd have known he was going to start, then I wouldn't have done it. Like, no way would I have done it. I'd have just kept him. I don't take hits for defenders. Like, it doesn't really happen. But at the end of the day, I had so many injuries at once. You saw my team. I mean, I had like 3-4 injuries in my team. Martial didn't play again, so I still had to start with him, who obviously didn't do anything because he didn't even turn up. So it's just a tragedy. And considering I wildcarded like 2 weeks ago, it's just embarrassing. So let's move on. Yeah, it's not my turn.
It's hard to have a go at you for wildcard injuries, though. Like, there's not much you can do about that. So I'm not going to go too hard on you, but I am happy that you took a -8 and it backfired. So at least it makes me feel a bit better. I've perked up a bit now.
I had Trent from the start. I managed to wildcard him out and play a hokey cokey with Wan-Bissaka that has netted me about a 25-point loss in total, because I missed the one haul that Trent has had, despite him again looking like he'll get 20 points. Like, he should have scored everything. He was fantastic again, like going forward anyway.
So your advice now is everyone sell Trent and bring back in Wan-Bissaka.
Yeah, I need to sit down and work out what I'm going to start telling people and do the opposite and try and get my own luck. Yeah. Anyway, that's enough slating. We need to move on. So I'm going to throw Sterling at you, because we also said last week that if Sterling blanks again in this game week after last week, there might be a little bit shift, especially if sort of the likes of Son and Pepe go mad, because obviously had the games. So Pepe didn't really do anything, but Son, a brace. And then to add into that, Kevin De Bruyne is also the same price. We saw him get benched just before a Champions League. So is that a sign of things to come? So long story short, we've got Sterling. There are other options now. He's blanking. And even Aguero, people are looking at up top, which you can't really argue with, and shifting the funds. So what are your thoughts on Sterling? What are you doing with him?
I mean, he was pretty unlucky against Norwich, wasn't he? He hit the post, and I think he had a couple of chances. I mean, the trouble is there's never a good time to sell him because it doesn't matter who he plays against. He could always get a hat trick. So you've got to be brave if you're going to get rid of him. And I think you can. I think you could make the case of having De Bruyne instead of him, but I just feel like not. I know they've lost to Norwich, but they're still. I still think them. City and Liverpool are still just so far above each other that I want their kind of main attacking assets. And to me, that's one of Mane or Salah, and it's Sterling or Aguero. I just think I don't think it matters what kind of combination, but having one of each of those pairs, I think is pretty key. And I just like the fact Sterling's a midfielder and gets the extra point, and he hasn't got Jesus to worry about. I mean, Jesus is never going to start over Aguero, but he does eat into his minutes, as we saw, last season when he's fit. Aguero going off at 60, 65 minutes to be protected. So I don't know. It's one of those ones though. We've talked about it in other weeks. Is what you can do with the extra money. Because if you do, say for example, you do Sterling to Son, and then can you upgrade whoever your third striker is to someone like Abraham? And then suddenly you've got Abraham and Son versus Wickham and Sterling. Or whoever your fifth midfielder is, whether your fourth defender. It's so. I think you can make a case for it, but I'm not looking to do it just yet. What about you?
Well, to be honest, it's just like I'm seeing a lot of people say the same, really, like on Twitter and stuff. I don't have a clue what I'm doing at the moment. Like fantasy just seems so far, like it just seems crazy. Like there's all sorts of stuff going on. I can't really sit here and like say, this player is going to be great over this period, this person. It doesn't seem to be working that way for me at the moment. I think there's so many ways you can go, and most of those result in not many points, to be honest with you. So I can completely see the argument of wanting to sell the guy because he's a lot of money and he's blanked 2 weeks in a row, and some people get frustrated with that sort of thing. Believe me, I am as well. He's my captain in both those games. I don't know if it was for you as well, but I think he might have been.
Yep.
Haller just missed. I'm watching the game, by the way. Haller just had a headed chance. We both got him in our team, but he missed.
Excellent.
So I don't know. I'm with you though. I've got the faith. I still think he's going to come out of this at the end of the season as being, certainly in the top 3 point scorers, if not the number one. And yeah, he's not looked great in the last 2 games. There's been a bit of bad luck for me, but it's more about the fact that I don't really know where I'd spend my money at the moment if I got rid of him. Like Salah and Mane, yes, I could say, okay, get them both. But at the end of the day, their fixtures aren't that great at the moment. So maybe that's a little bit down the line because City's still got great games. And then sort of people say we could spend the money up front, but there's just so many good forwards right now. Like, yeah, Aubameyang's great, Aguero's great, but so are like Tammy Abraham, Firmino, Haller, Wilson, Vardy. I could go on. The name's just endless. There's lists of people. So for me, I'll be keeping, and certainly at Watford home I'll be keeping. I just really hope he doesn't get his rest in that game, because that for some reason I've got this fear that now Kevin De Bruyne had his go, then the midweek lineup would be very interesting. If Sterling plays in that one, which I suspect he will, part of me thinks he might get a rest in that game for Watford, or like Pep might throw some punishment out because of the shocking performance. Or maybe
I don't know though, because they need to win now. They can't drop any more points in any of these games.
No, but I mean, his last team didn't win. So people say you need to win, you play your best players. Get that. But at the end of the day, this doesn't really apply to City because every player is their best player. They could just bring on another £60 million player.
Well, that's true. Yeah, the thing is, like, you just look at their fixtures. They've got Watford, Everton, Wolves, Palace, Villa, Southampton. I mean, they're going to score buckets of goals in those games. So selling Sterling just doesn't sit right.
No, it doesn't sit right with me. Right, I think we've done that to death. Let's move on. But basically, it's a simple one, mate. Who is assuming front three is the way to go, because it seems to be. Forwards are just ridiculously good at the moment. Who would be your optimum front three? Like, if you could just pick it now on a wild card, who would you go for? Who would be the 3 people you go for? And you obviously have to bear in mind not just the 3 best strikers. I guess it's got to be with the price in mind of like, having your Salahs and stuff in your midfield. So, assuming you're going that way, maybe you're not.
Well, I'm going to throw a name out there.
Go on.
Pookie.
I don't know why that surprised me, but it did.
And that's the kind of maverick manager I am. saying the top scoring player in the game. Well, I mean, Pookie's obvious. He's probably he's got to be over 7 million now, right? 7.1, something like that.
I
Still
don't think
worth
he's
it.
there yet, but he's going to be there.
No, he is. He's 7.1.
Is he? Oh yeah, because I'm looking at 6.8 in my team.
Yeah,
Of course I am.
yeah.
Yeah,
He's
wow.
7.1. So I think he's obviously still worth that. I think Abraham. I mean, after this Liverpool game, Chelsea have got a really nice run of games, and they look like they can't be asked to defend, but they're they're going to score a load of goals, I think. And Abraham is a proper confidence player, and I think now he's got what, 2 braces and a hat trick in his last 4 games or something.
Yeah, I saw a stat the other day where it said that Abraham has now scored more than 15 of the 20 other teams in our league on his own.
Wow. That is incredible, isn't it? And he's what, 7.3 million.
Yeah, gone up from 7.
So I think he's a great pick. I mean, if we're talking money, obviously money's an option, but Aubameyang, I mean, he's playing for an absolutely dreadful team, but he's now playing up front until Lacazette's back. He's got Villa at home next, and then I think United, and then like a sea of green fixtures again. So I think, if you're wildcarding, it might be quite a good time to get on him if you can sort of work out how to fit him in. So they'd probably be the 3 that I'd go with if I was.
So if you went for Aubameyang, Pookie, and Tammy,
Yeah.
What would you do? Because obviously to afford that, there has to be something that gives either a midfield or defence. Would you downgrade defence, or how would you do it? Because I'm assuming you still want Salah and Sterling in there. I mean, it may be possible, but I'd expect your defence would probably suffer.
I would probably. I'd get Mane over Salah because I think they're gonna pretty much match each other anyway. I'd be tempted to take one of Sterling or De Bruyne out, and stick with one of them, or I would just go. I just have Trent and just have a cheap defence.
I've seen that wave mentioned on Twitter quite a lot, and it's really hard to argue with it because defenders are just doing nothing. But Trent still, like, I feel like I have to have that guy still. I know it's happened in one game and not too many others really, as in the big haul. But I still feel like every time I watch him, it's going to happen. Whereas all the other defenders, it's like someone could present a team to me now with 4 million defenders or 4.5s, and I wouldn't sit here and argue with it because it's just not getting any clean sheets. So
I know. Well, I've got an expensive defence. I've got Alexander-Arnold, Zinchenko, and Matip, which for me is quite expensive. There's some people out there, with Alexander-Arnold, Van Dijk, and Zinchenko, putting loads. I mean, my whole structure of my defence is different to how it's been in previous seasons when, I've tended to be a bit more balanced, or I've gone for like 3 really attacking fullbacks, whereas Zinchenko isn't very attacking. He doesn't really get forward that much. Well, he does, but he's like the kind of assister of the assister, isn't he? He's never going to be.
His value was supposed to be that he's so cheap for a backline that's keeping 20 sheets more than anything, but obviously that's not happening.
Exactly. Then I've got Matip, who I wanted to keep the Liverpool double up for that Newcastle game. That kind of backfired. But then I look at some other options around 5 million, 4.5, and there's no one, because when I was deciding, I had to downgrade Van Dijk to get in De Bruyne. So I was looking at all the defenders around. I think 5.4 was the max I could get, and I'm looking at players like Vertonghen, like Brighton player like Montoya. He was benched against Burnley.
He was ill, weren't he? Or did I just move out?
No, was he? Okay, well, I hope so. Well,
I thought I heard that, but I could have got it wrong.
Yeah, he could have been. But then, like, you're looking at players like Tarkowski, and it's like, oh, these are like, there's not really that many attacking defenders, and no one's getting clean sheets.
No, that's what I mean. It'd be hard to argue with it. So before we move on to defence, because that's another question we've got coming up. For my front 3, I mean, I love the 3 you've picked there. I think they're all. I think Pookie's pretty much a must at this point, or very close to it. And Tammy, with the run coming up, it's hard to argue. I still feel like he's probably had his golden period there. It won't get as good as that again. I mean, like 7 goals in, was it 3 or 4 games or whatever? I mean, that's not
the fixtures. The fixtures are there for him though.
Well, that's it. That's what I mean. I'd have to say you have to get him because of his price and the fixtures. But if you're expecting 7 goals in 3 games to repeat,
Oh yeah, Yeah,
That's
that's
I
fair.
think that's going to happen.
Yeah.
But also the fact is that for me, I've got Mason Mount, and a lot of people have got them as well. And then it's like doubling up on Chelsea attack. Now I know they've been scoring goals and not been able to keep clean sheets, which is a good sign. But it's still a worry to double up on the Chelsea defense, Chelsea attack. Sorry, I think like even in them games maybe, but at those price, maybe I'm just being crazy. I don't know. I'm seriously considering getting Tammy in myself. So I still.
I'm definitely getting him in for game week 7 for that run. I mean,
Oh really? Yeah.
game week 7 right down to game week 12. Brighton at home, Southampton away, Newcastle at home, Burnley away, Watford away, Crystal Palace at home.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it?
Because
I'll probably have him in my team for that as well. To be honest with you,
I think he's going to be. He's pretty much. He needs to be, because I think he's going to be quite highly owned by that point, in great
yeah,
form with a great run of fixtures. So it's hard to. This is the problem. It's hard to find like the next big thing. Like I'm struggling to like get ahead of the curve because
that's what I said to you. It's just like all over the place at the moment. I feel like I've almost got to fast forward a couple of weeks and just like who's got good fixtures like in a few weeks' time, because like another name offer out is Vardy. Like he's been doing all right. He's not been doing great, but he's still up there. He's still a good fantasy option, I think, and has been for a long time now. And then Leicester's fixtures suddenly turned, and he might be a great pick again. So it's like another name. I feel like maybe I should just ignore the next couple of weeks until things settle down, like if they're going to settle down. I mean, it almost feels like the Leicester season when they won it, where it was just like it started off a bit mad, and like Igalo, people like that were just firing, and it's just like you still didn't believe it, until it was you were like 100 points, 200 points behind before you suddenly jumped on. It's just craziness. I mean, let me throw some other names at you here. We've obviously got Aguero. You got Haller, who's playing tonight, has obviously looked good in the game he's played. Firmino, just playing like really, really well.
Yep.
Came on again, just looked absolute boss. You got Wilson, who's like every game and scored a brace. Was it a brace yesterday?
Yep.
Yeah. You got Rashford, who may not appeal to some, but at the end of the day, he's still scoring and on penalties. He's still doing all right. You got Barnes, who I know didn't play well last week, but still great pick, straight back. There's just so many forward options.
Yeah, and you think like it almost makes me want to wildcard, because one of the reasons why I wanted to keep the wildcard was in case there is a switch in the kind of, because there always seems to be power in one of the either defence, midfield or strikers every season, and it kind of evolves and changes as the season goes, and it is definitely in strikers at the moment. So I'm sitting here with Connor Wickham as my third striker, thinking this is exactly what I said I wouldn't do at the start of the season, and dig myself into a hole with a 4.5 striker who I just am really going to struggle to move out unless I change things around. So it's quite frustrating, because I kind of I made a big point of saying that at the start of the season. I mean, at one point I only had one striker, and I had like Wickham and Greenwood.
I did that as well a few times.
One of my drafts. It just shows, doesn't it, that the flexibility is definitely an underrated type thing. Because like you said, there's just so many strikers at the moment.
I just think it's a mindset thing. I think like in previous seasons, we've had teams that have just tried to do nothing else but defend. I mean, Brighton's manager, Brighton were that kind of team. Burnley are kind of that team, but even they're a little bit more expressive now. And then the promoted teams generally just tried to, hold off the opponents more than others. Anyway, I know Fulham didn't do that, but they have in the past. And at the moment, it seems like a mindset team. Like every team Norwich are embodying it at the moment. It's just like, forget it. I don't care who you are. Like Villa are attacking, Norwich are attacking. It's just crazy. It's like Sheffield United, not overly attacking, but they're certainly, they're overlapping centre-backs and going for it. They're not changing their identities. It's like everyone's just going for it. I think that's more, for me, like why the defenders are failing a little bit. It's just everyone's going for goals. And it's like, for me, I don't think there's really a right answer for who the right strikers are. I like to have players from a team whose sole purpose seems to be let's score goals. It's half the reason why I always want to have 3 City, because I just feel like even when they're winning 3-0, they want to win 6-7. Liverpool had the season before where they would get to 2 or 3 and they kind of just chill, and you get those clean sheet points.
I think the danger is that you always risk chasing last week's points, because
definitely.
It's so tempting. Like you get your strikers in, you're quite happy with them. They blank one week, and then you see someone like Abraham score a hat trick, or Rashford scores again, and all that. And then you change your players out, and then the players you take out, you kind of like you need to bring in players who are good options and kind of just give them.
And I think Wilson and Vardy fit that bill perfectly, don't they? They've been proven assets. they're players that have done well in the past like 2 seasons for like decent attacking teams who have and it's just like, and they've got potentially good fixtures, or certainly in Vardy's case, and it's like they're good options. I couldn't argue as against one of them as my third.
No,
Like,
I think Wilson isn't Wilson the only player he's returned in every match so far, right?
yeah, I think so.
It's
Like,
pretty good.
yeah, it's pretty good, and he's dropped in price, I think.
Yeah,
which
yeah.
shows you how knee jerky some people are, but. Yeah, I can't really speak. I'm doing my hits all over the place and wildcards, for God's sake.
I know. I just think like it's. I can't remember there being this many options before. Because I mean, like at the start of the season, you'd see teams without Salah or Sterling and stuff, and the template was there, and you think, oh, you're brave going up there. Now I'm seeing teams with like Son and De Bruyne and like Wilson, Vardy, and Aubameyang, and not a Sterling or a Salah in sight, and they're like ranked 2K in the world. And like you can't really argue about it. Like you look at Aubameyang and his fixtures, and then you look at Salah and his fixtures. You think, well, you wouldn't be that surprised if Aubameyang matched Salah over that period.
Indeed. And because I had to do the Sky team with the overhaul, I had all these considerations in mind, like the fixtures and obviously match days and stuff. And Aubameyang and Son I've got in that team, and it absolutely smashed it this week because obviously, and as captains as well. So yeah, for my picks, I'd also go Pookie, and I think you pretty much have to go Tammy at the moment. And then the third one, I think you could just pick from any of those lists. I mean, ideally, I'd want Aubameyang, but I still believe in the Sterling thing, and I think that therefore, and I still believe in Trent in defence. So I think unless you can make that work, Aubameyang may have to be the one that I'd still drop out just on the basis that Arsenal, I'm still not confident. I mean, that game that they had again, they got the 2 goals. Aubameyang had like 2 shots, scored them both because he's elite, and then it's just like, Emery doesn't really know what he's doing.
Well, where did it go wrong again? I'll tell you where it went wrong again. When he took Ceballos off
before the 60th minute.
Yeah, okay. Let's not dwell too much on that. But he takes off the only player who was looking quite composed and like passing the ball really nicely and like looking to like make things happen, and brings on like some kid.
Yeah, no answers.
It made absolutely no sense, his substitutions at all.
It was hot. Did you see his excuse?
It's hot.
He said it was too hot out there, so he thought he'd take Ceballos off because basically, like, obviously living in Spain or wherever he's come from, he can't manage the heat. It's just
my
mad.
God, yeah. I mean, when's his contract up? Because isn't he? Is it maybe the end of this season?
Yeah, I wouldn't want to speculate. I don't know, but to be honest, I'd be surprised if he sees it out. But then again, I mean, they kept Wenger even when he was failing for ages. But that's Wenger, so I don't know.
I think he's useless, Emery. I think he's done absolutely nothing of any value with Arsenal at all.
Yeah, I'd find that hard to argue with. Especially, I mean, we obviously get wrapped up in the fantasy world rather than the real world. So in terms of a fantasy world, he's not done us any favours, really, like for quite a while now, I think.
No, he plays Aubameyang on the wing.
Yeah. And he even started the match slightly on the wing and then moved central, Aubameyang.
Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed, but he was kind of out on the left-hand side again. I don't know whether that's just because, that's Aubameyang's thing. He likes to cut in that way, but it almost seemed like a tactical ploy from him. It's just like, what are you doing? Lacazette's out, and he's still playing him slightly on the left-hand side. Oh, God.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Oh, yeah, I mean, just coming back quickly to the point a minute ago, the problem, I think the main problem we're having, and the problem I feel, is that I want to be really flexible with my team. Like, I feel like flexibility is such a key part of like fantasy football in general, and yet I'm not flexible because I don't want to get rid of Salah, I don't want to get rid of Sterling, I don't want to get rid of Trent, I can't get rid of Pukki, I don't want to get rid of De Bruyne. So really, I'm locked into like these 6 or 7 players. And there's so many players that are just gonna keep scoring, and I'm not even gonna really consider them because I'm so locked into. Like, how long do we give Sterling? This is the question. Like, how long do we give these players? Because if you take them out too early, it's like you're knee jerking. How long is it until you're not knee jerking? How long until it is sensible? It's really tough. I found last season really difficult, and I know you did as well. But I'm finding the start of this season even tougher.
Yeah, and I mean, I had a great 2 weeks to open it up. I was like 20k or something, 29k, I think it was, after 2 weeks. And then just completely gone downhill from that moment, basically due to my mismanagement rather than anything else. Frustrating.
Join the club.
Yeah, because I had all the tools in place, really. Just completely balls it up. Okay, let's move on. Let's get to a few questions from the fans.
Questions from the
and
fans.
we have got a few. Yeah, we've got a few. We've got a few, mate.
A few fans or a few questions?
A bit of both. A bit of both.
Wow. Check us out.
Yeah. It's good work we're doing, Naz. Don't mock it.
I won't.
We've got Mr. Kuba, and he says, is it bad luck or are we doing something wrong? I think he's talking about the collective Twitter community in that question there. So is it just bad luck, or are we just kidding ourselves? Are we just doing something wrong?
Well, Jake, my dog obviously thinks it's bad luck. He just jumped up for no reason, barking, and ran out of the room. Absolutely furious with that question. Well, I mean, I think it's possibly a bit of both. I mean, I've benched Pookie when I shouldn't have done. So you've got to say that was a bad decision. Easy to say with hindsight, but I think even without hindsight, I think a lot of people would have said it. it wasn't the smartest thing to do. But like bad luck. I mean, I bought in De Bruyne to try and get as much in that City game as I thought, because I thought, we can only make decisions based on what we read and the information we've got. And the information we had was that Norwich had no defence and he was going to attack City. Like, I heard that press conference and I thought this is going to be like an 8-2 or something. Like the City, like there's just no way that City aren't going to score like an absolute shed load of goals against them. And they didn't. Like, all you can do is put yourself in the position to try and get as many points as possible. And I wouldn't have banked on Abraham getting a hat trick away at Wolves.
No.
Like, how can you predict that? Like, how can you predict Sterling blanking? Like, there's lots of things happening that I feel that, like Son scoring a couple of goals against Crystal Palace. I thought Son was at risk of not playing because he'd been off with South Korea, hadn't he? The international break. So like, someone brings in Son, and I'm like, well, Son's a great option, but I wouldn't bring him in for this week. He's just had that international break, and then he scores a brace. Like,
yeah,
it's hard. It's like it does kind of feel that like logic, like general logic and things, just isn't really working.
I kind of echo exactly that, to be honest with you. But I also just want to factor in, I think, and it's not without good reason. I think we've taken last season as like the gospel in some ways, and obviously just spending a lot of money at the back and trying to put, back fours and back fives out because the value's there. It all made sense on paper, and I just want to add, I still think it probably will make sense season long when we look back at it after 38 weeks, that there'll be some great value picks in that area that will easily have matched other picks. But I think we kind of forgot that this is a completely new season and the teams are different, and obviously the ethos that's going on, the attacking, it just seems like the old trusted sort of non-overthinking manager again. Like I said to you before, would have just gone Aguero in as captain, 3-4-3. Do you know what I mean? I just played it simple, and most of those people are the ones that are doing all right. The non-overthinkers.
Yeah, no, I do agree with it. I think I'm definitely guilty of overthinking everything. And yeah, I mean, when that's the thing, like when you get some information like, oh, Jesus is a bit of a doubt, and then Aguero's got Brighton at home, like it would just be such an easy move, wouldn't it? Like it's the kind of move a few years ago I would have done without even thinking about it, but now I'm trying to kind of overthink it. I think it is that. I think you're probably right.
And even stuff like Pookie scores a hat-trick game week 2 after looking great game week 1. Now, I know I got him in for that, but I was very on the edge as to whether I was going to do that. And a lot of people didn't and sort of said, no, I'm not going to do that. And then continued even after the hat-trick to say, like, no, I'm not going to do that. I just think that's a little bit of overthinking again. How often do you get a player at that price who scores that well? We even did it with Jimenez last season.
I know. The trouble is, though, it's not always as easy as that, because it's like De Bruyne this season for me. Like, I knew De Bruyne was a good option. I knew he was going to score loads of points, but to get him in, I would have to have taken a hit, and I would have to have taken Sigurdsson out with good fixtures. So if you've got 3 good strikers, say you've got Callum Wilson, Abraham, and Aubameyang, how do you get in Pookie?
Yeah, I know, exactly. And it would be so hard to sit here and say, like, you've got to take one of those out for Pookie.
Do you know what I mean? And it's the same with like Ashley Barnes. Like, I know some people who've got Ashley Barnes in their team. They've got Ashley Barnes and some other strikers, And like the obvious thing to do is to take out Ashley Barnes for Pookie and just do it and rip the band-aid off and just take the hit. But when Ashley Barnes has got Brighton, or
Well,
when
it's like
you know,
tonight. Haller's playing now. It's almost a half time, and he's not scored yet, despite every other forward in the entire league scoring seemingly. So West Ham have still got good games. He still looks like a good player. Part of me will sit here and think, should I be taking Haller out for Abraham, who's playing Liverpool? Like, that seems mad to me, but I think someone who just logs in for FPL and goes, "Oh, Tammy's doing all right.
well,
He
that's
smashed
it.
hat-trick last week." We'll probably end up winning on this argument.
It's overthinking it. It's overthinking it again because you know if you look at points, Pookie beats everyone, so it's never going to be a bad option to take out the player that you've got. But also, I think part of it is sometimes I'm reluctant to take out one of my picks who I think is a good like differential pick because you know you're always thinking, well, if Pookie blanks and he's owned by like everyone around me, and I've got Barnes or Haller or someone, then I'm going to get a massive frank rise. I mean, last year I went for Ings over Jimenez. I thought I was being an absolute genius. I was like, Ings, he's got a great run of games. Like, you know, he's on penalties. He's Southampton looking quite good. Like, everyone's got Jimenez, and I'll get in Ings, and I'll fill up the rankings. What happens? Ings misses chance after chance, and is yellow flagged for like weeks, and Jimenez just bangs and bangs and bangs.
Yeah, I did something similar with Igalo was firing and everyone was getting him in, and I looked at Stoke. I'm pretty sure it was this game anyway. I looked at Stoke's fixtures and they were fantastic. And Bojan was a midfielder for like 5.5 million playing up front.
Yeah,
I thought, yeah, I'll get Bojan in because that's genius. He's out of position. No one's going to expect it. Like they've got really great games. Igalo ain't going to keep firing for Watford. I think Bojan got injured or something in the second, get a yellow card in the first game, like injured in the second game, and like never touched the team again for like 6 months or something. It's just sometimes you try to be over like clever, and I should have just gone Igalo. And it's like now, if you're sitting there without Pookie in your team, I think it's just so hard to say like you shouldn't be just getting him in, like regardless of the fact that
I know.
Haller's got a good game, Barnes got a game, whatever.
I know. I mean, it's very easy to sit and give advice though. But I mean,
Yeah,
you know, this is why. I mean, I took a hit this week and got rid of Sigurdsson, and you know, I was going into yesterday. You know, De Bruyne didn't play, or you know, came on for like 1 point. So I was thinking, God, if Sigurdsson does something in this game, I'm going to be absolutely devastated. And he was rubbish.
yeah.
So now I'm thinking, you know, I know it was a 4 point hit, but De Bruyne is going to outscore Sigurdsson, like in the long run. And I think really Pookie, you know, you look at Pookie versus Barnes, you look at Pookie versus even someone like Rashford, or you know, I think Pookie just is going to outscore them because.
Well, this is a good point to touch on. An FPL lister says, is Pookie and Campbell basically the new Vardy and Mahrez? So will this continue? Will people just keep sitting there thinking it's Norwich, like they're two cheap players? They ain't going to continue all season. Now, I'm not saying Norwich are going to win the league, but from a fantasy perspective, have we basically got a Vardy and Mahrez on our hands here that, you know, I sit here and think, I was looking at people who are wildcarding, for example, and wildcarding to a team where they had Lundstrom and Cantwell, and they were going to be playing one of those two in their XI every week. And I was sitting there almost laughing to myself, thinking, you're causing yourself a massive problem down the line with like 4.0 or 4.5 on your bench. And then, you know, one of those in your starting XI, that's madness. But to be honest, they're clearly having the last laugh because Cantwell's dominating, man, at 4.8. So, like, what do you think? Are they Vardy and Mahrez? Should we just be playing those two every week? I mean, they're playing away to Burnley this week, aren't they?
Yeah, well, the thing is that you're going to go into every game with Campbell and Pookie thinking they're going to score, and it was the same with Vardy and Mahrez. Like, you know, normally you own like a 4.7, 4.8 midfielder like Den Donker or Danny Drinkwater or someone like that, and you think, oh, you'd be like, you know, you're just hoping they don't get booked.
Yeah.
You're going in with Campbell, or who's the other guy? Who's the other one they've got?
Buendia.
Was he like? He's about 6 million or something.
Yeah, I think he's 6. Yeah, he is.
Like these are good options because I can't think of any team in the league. Well, there isn't any team in the league because they've scored. The only two teams in the league they couldn't score against on paper would be Liverpool and City, and they've scored against them both. So why should they have any fear against any other team in the league?
You saw my tweet before, didn't you, about that team that would be 148th in the world that's got triple Norwich attack with just keeping the captain on Pookie. Buendia, Campbell and Pookie. I mean, I thought Norwich would be decent, but given those fixtures, Like, I didn't want to touch them at the beginning of the season. And to see a team that would be 148th in the world with triple Norwich attack, it's just crazy. So
I mean, their games: Burnley away, Palace away, Villa at home, Bournemouth away, United at home, Brighton away, Watford at home. Like, they're going to score in all those.
yeah, part of me thinks like playing the big teams is similar to the Leicester thing, might be helping them because they can just surprise them and counter on them, and use the space and stuff. And maybe when they're at home to a game where, like, some of those games we they should be scoring and we think they're going to win, maybe they'll struggle with people. They won't have as much space in them. But then I think, am I just overthinking that again? And they're just too good. So I'm going to say, are they the new Vardy and Mahrez? I don't think they're going to be hitting. I don't think Cantwell's going to be hitting Mahrez levels. Put it that way. But can Pukki hit Vardy levels? I think there's probably a good chance of that.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Yeah, I mean, the thing with Pukki, which is better for him than Cantwell, is the whole team is built around him. Like, they literally just want to use his strengths. They want to get the ball to him. Like, he's been involved in, like, I think the Norwich's first goal, I think, was the only goal he hasn't been involved in, right?
Oh, right. Well, I mean, even that pass that he had when he broke through on goal and he just cut it behind Walker,
Yeah,
like,
I know.
it's just a perfect. He's just a really good player. Like, his movement, that pass was perfect. Like, you'd expect. I mean, if that was Rashford, for example, or Mane or Salah, they'd have shot in that situation.
Yep.
Like, don't get me wrong, they might have actually scored it, but the smart play was to do what he did, like the guarantee goal. And it's just like, that surprised me, given he's a goal scorer, and he did get a lot of assists last season as well, didn't he? I can't remember how many it is, but he got a lot in the Championship.
I think you're right though. I think the point you make is really good, because I mean, you think they have blanked this season. They did blank away to West Ham. Like, West Ham aren't exactly like the best defensive team, in the league. They beat Newcastle. They scored 3 against Newcastle. It'll be interesting to see, like, against Burnley, Burnley and Palace is quite a good test for them, because they're both teams who know how to defend. So
Yeah.
it'd be interesting to see if they do keep this up against those two. Because if they do score against Burnley and Palace, then you've got to say, well, they can just score against any kind of team and shape and setup.
Yeah.
And
We're watching keenly to see whether it happens. It's just a slight thought that I might have. I mean, I don't know if it comes to any fruition, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that works out, because I mean, Palace, Roy Hodgson sets up his teams, kind of like Emery in a way, just literally to counter what the opponents are doing. So will they be able to do anything about it? I don't know. Guess we'll see.
We will.
Right, let's move on then. We've done that one to death. What shall I go for now? Okay, FPLH says, and I think you're in this market, or were in this market, I should say, best defender under 5.6 million for the next sort of 4 to 6 game weeks. So sort of 5.5, 5.6, down below, 6 weeks. Who's the best as?
It's really tough. I mean, I went for Matip, because in the end I just thought, I know Alisson's out, but Liverpool are the best defensive team in the league, and I don't even think it's close. Really, like, you'd say Liverpool or City, and City are just completely all over the place.
I think it is close with City, but not because their defense is necessarily good, just because their attack's so good that therefore their defense becomes good. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I agree. Like, as in raw defenders, I mean, Van Dijk and Robertson are just fantastic for a start.
Yeah, well, this is it. And I mean, I know, I thought about it, because I thought, well, Liverpool's the thing was, I was between sort of Matip and Vertonghen, but because Tottenham have got a really good run of games, but I also feel that they could concede against anyone, whereas Liverpool, I feel, could keep a clean sheet against anyone. Like, they could go away at Chelsea, keep it tight, and keep a clean sheet. Then they've got Sheffield United. Then they've got Leicester United, Tottenham. I mean, I know these are tough games, but these are games where Liverpool could keep it tight and keep a clean sheet in. So I couldn't find, my preference was to find a really attacking player with a chance of clean sheets, and I couldn't find one. So in the end, I just thought, well, I've got 5.4. I'm going to bring in a player who I think's probably got the best chance to keep clean sheets, and it was Matip. So that's my logic.
I almost feel like this is a trick question, because, to be honest with you, I should probably just say a 4 million defender, right? Because I don't think there's any defenders even above that price bracket. How can I sit here and recommend you a defender in the next 6 weeks? Like, I don't know. It's just all over the place for clean sheets. Like, yeah, I agree with Liverpool. Even though they've got hard fixtures, are still going to be a fairly good bet, like to probably get more than most would expect or more people. But outside of that, it's really a struggle. I mean, the only other one name I could really come up with that I thought was interesting was Bowley from Wolves, Willie Bowley. Now, I think Wolves have been pretty shocking so far.
They've been awful.
Yeah, I mean, they conceded 5 this week, sorry. And now, yeah, Chelsea's attack, great, fair enough. But I think Bowley didn't play in that game. And I think that did so much for his stock because they really missed him. And to be honest, I think when he has played, like he's actually done really well in the bonus. And let's not forget, like the other games and stuff, they've set up in such a way where they've just been really defensive. I mean, it was 0-0 against Leicester in Gameweek 1. It was 1-1 against Man United. It's 1-1 against Burnley. And then from Everton, they conceded 3 to Everton, and then they conceded 5 to Chelsea without Bowley playing. Mm-hmm. So in the other games, he's had 1 stinker, and the other ones have been very tight, almost a clean sheet. Now, he does good for the bonus. He's quite cheap, and he has got a really big goal threat, like considering most of the other options around that price bracket.
They've been struggling, and Europa League's barely started.
Yeah, I know, but I think it's almost too simplistic to call that the reason, because I think so many Everton are struggling and they don't have those excuses. It's just so many teams that just seem to be a bit random. And I feel like the coach is really good for Wolves, and more to do with the fact that, I mean, you saw his press conference after the game where it was basically like, we weren't good enough. He was not happy. We were not good enough. And I feel like he said our structure, our organisation, our defence was really bad, but he was slating it. So I just think they're going to go away. He's going to focus entirely on trying to sort that part of the game out.
I'll tell you what this is.
Games are so good that I feel like he'd be a decent option.
This is a complete classic case of overthinking. They've just conceded 5 goals at home to Chelsea.
Without Bowley. Without him.
Well, yeah, without him. I don't know.
I mean, look at City without Laporte.
Yeah, I know, but he played against Everton. They conceded 3.
Okay, so aside from Matip, then
I'll tell you who the best defensive option I think at the moment. If I was going to do the same transfer again and get rid of Van Dijk, I'd definitely be getting in Tomori of Chelsea.
I was on my list because at the end of the day, like I say, he's so cheap. Chelsea can't defend either. I can throw that straight at you now. They've conceded so many goals.
I know, but he's 4.5.
Yeah, so that's why I said at the beginning, I could pick any 4 or 4.5. It's almost a trick question. I'd be safe in the knowledge they'd do all right compared to the competitors because no one keeping clean sheets. But
he's Chelsea's top scoring defender with 10.
It's shocking.
I know.
Yeah, so I mean, there isn't really any options, is there? I just want to read you Wolves games, right? Okay, they're away to Palace, home to Watford. Right, away to City, that's obviously the outliner as being bad. But then they're home to Southampton, away to Newcastle. It keeps going. They have Arsenal after that, and then it goes Villa, Bournemouth. It's just the games get really good. Sheffield United at home, West Ham at home. There's like a good little period. Brighton away, all the way up to Christmas almost. They've only really got...
Who are you trying to convince? Are you trying to convince yourself? Are you bringing in Bolly?
Look, like we said before, it's almost like looking at it saying it's just mad at the moment and I want to look forward, and I feel like Bolly is a decent price who could get some clean sheets in a team that are set up for clean sheets rather than to attack. I
think you've lost your mind.
I'm struggling to pick.
I wouldn't be going anywhere near Bolly, but then again, you're getting it right more than me this season, so probably should bring him in.
Well, yeah, maybe I should listen. Maybe I should just get him in myself. I'll tell you, any more blanks from my defence and I'll just do it, because Digne, Zinchenko and Alexander-Arnold. So set pieces, teams that were supposed to be good at clean sheets, attacking threat, apart from maybe Zinchenko, and pretty much nada I'm getting from all of them now.
You got a lot of money in that.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. Bolly could be on the cards. Mr. Willie.
Wow. Wow. I wasn't expecting that.
Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I just feel like I'm so many moves behind. Every time I look at my team, like when it ticks over and you set it up for the week ahead, I feel like, yeah, I'm not going to make any transfers this week. My team's all right. And then within the week, suddenly I need to make 3 or 4. Like it becomes that much of a tragedy. Like before the games happen, if you know what I mean. I do it on the do it on the Friday night after the game started or Saturday, set up my team for the next week. Think, yeah, I should be fine for next weekend. The weekend's football happens, and I'm like, right, I need 3 or 4 changes.
Yeah, you've been very unlucky.
It's not just that. I think it's just my knee jerk, like the knee jerk way the season's working. It's just like team looks all right on paper. No, it's not. It's utter shite.
I'd bet a wild card.
Yeah. Well, your wild card better be absolute dynamite, mate, because it's got to save you from free fall and the fact that you slated mine. I'm waiting to see the perfect wild card that should include Mr. Willy Bowley.
Well, I won't be. I was going to say I won't be bringing in bloody Bolly.
It's a better pick than Matip, mate. I'll give you that.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
Right. I don't think there's anything more. I don't think there's anything more to add, Alice. So, anything you want to say before we jettison, before we leave?
No, not really. I'm not happy.
No.
I'm gonna have to. I'm banking my transfer this week, and I'm gonna see what happens with Ceballos. Because I mean, everyone's told me not to get him, and I've just been like, no, literally hands over my ears. La, great option. 5.7 Arsenal midfielder. La. And if he is benched against Villa, or if he gets taken off at 59 minutes again, he's so gone. So this is annoying, isn't it? Like, this is the problem. I've got like a couple of players in my team who I feel like are kind of my sort of more left field picks, and if they don't deliver, then I have a bad week. And I feel like the players I'm relying on, like Matip and and Ceballos and people, and like Sigurdsson before, just aren't delivering. So it makes it even worse when the players who you kind of banking on to be a kind of, lift your team up a bit.
I guess the one solace thing I can take at the moment is I look at my team and it actually looks really bad for this week, whereas it's looked pretty good most other weeks when I've looked at it. So I feel like I'm going to have a decent one now.
Yeah, it's exactly. I looked at my team going into this week and I thought my team looks awesome. Like, I've got all the main games covered. Like 3 Liverpool home to Newcastle, 3 City away at Norwich. Like Arsenal player against Watford. I've got Haller against Villa. I just had all these great players, and they're all just doing absolutely nothing. Rubbish.
Yeah. I mean, Chelsea versus Liverpool means that potentially I could have Tammy and Mount against Alexander-Arnold and Mane. That's never a good thing. And then I've got Haller against Man United, which that could go all right, but still not too confident in that. And it's just like I'm here relying on Triple City again, which right now it's a bit of a worry. But armband will be on Sterling, unless the only other thing I was going to throw in there actually before we go is, like, Sterling had his rest now. Like, Champions League midweek is obviously going to dictate a lot of our thoughts, so depending on their lineup there. But right now, the captain's on Sterling. But let's say he plays that as well, which we expect him to. Is there any chance that he gets rested for that? I know we kind of touched it. Like, I've got De Bruyne in my team. Should I not just captain him because he's had his rest? Like, is the smart play just to go for De Bruyne for me?
Yeah, well, I'm the same. I mean, I don't know. It's impossible to predict what Pep's going to do. So I kind of just feel like you can't really predict. And just when Liverpool have got Chelsea, you're not going to captain Salah, even though Chelsea are conceding goals for fun. I think
no, it's the kind of game where I think Salah will do well, like the Arsenal game. It's like I feel like he'll do well in that game, and then Mane, my man, will score in the other games. Maybe, I don't know.
I mean, it depends. I mean, we've got that Shakhtar game. I mean, if you can, it's not all just about sort of whether Sterling plays. If we watch Sterling and he looks visibly tired, or he's not getting fooled as much as he wants, and De Bruyne has an absolutely amazing game, then I think you can kind of make the decision on merit about what you see. But if Sterling plays 80 minutes and looks sharp, then I'll probably still give him the armband.
And considering how open Watford were in that Arsenal game, I know they were great towards the end, Watford, but they were so open. I feel like again this could be a 6-0 City, like I thought last week. But
I mean, you've got to think they're going to have a response to losing at Norwich. I wouldn't want to be Watford.
No, definitely not. I feel like it should be. But again, the things that should be or supposed to happen don't seem to have been happening. Yeah. So I feel like maybe I'm overthinking it, which what we've been talking about. Maybe by going De Bruyne, I'm overthinking it, and then Sterling will just score 3 or 4 because he's clearly like the better pick, like him and Aguero, just for their ceilings. And I'll have gone De Bruyne, and obviously it's sad. But then the other part of me thinks Sterling might get the rest in that game and then come on for 10 minutes or something, and that'll just be, oh my god, captain again, Sterling.
Overthinking, Luke.
let's end the pod, mate, before I talk myself into some craziness.
Just bring in Bolly and, don't overthink it and be done with it.
Right, I'm off to do that then. I'll catch you later, mate.
Nice one, Luke. I'll do this again next week.
Next week it is. I'll see you then, mate.
Nice. Speak soon. Good luck next week. Bye.